Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Inks. Today we have Brian Kramer of Cars Commerce. And Ted, I know we have an incredible conversation in store.
Sarah, no bigger name in our industry than Brian Kramer from Cars Commerce. Brian, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks for having me. It's always a blast hanging out with you two.
All right. Brian, you are ahead of the curve in so many things that you're talking about that you see out there. So here we are about a little over a month into 2026. What are you seeing out there? What do you see on the horizon?
So it's not, I would say, the most exciting thing in the world, but I would say digital trust is what is going to be a resonating factor and amplified for the foreseeable future, forever, really. When we're talking about AI search, for instance, when you're looking for oil changes, you're looking for tires, you're looking for anything search related, the first thing that these search engines are now doing, the Chat GPTs and the Google Geminis are now referencing, is what you're saying accurate? Because this is like how it's changed. And I'll give you one quick example. I'm at a dealership recently. They say the service drive traffic has fallen off a cliff. So we started analyzing it. We got Dealer Inspire websites, and we're looking at all the data, and here's basically what's happening. They have 60-minute oil changes listed on their website, but the reviews say there's only like 4 of them, 4 or 5, 2.5 hours, 2 hours. I waited too long. So now it's filtering you out. And when you have Google AI overviews, answer engine optimization, if your website doesn't match the reviews, your trust goes down. You don't get served up in search. Somebody else does.
And Brian, this is incredible to talk about because up until this point, a lot of the customer reviews were really isolated, on Google or other websites where it was hosting them. Now you're talking about AI has the ability to interpret what's happening with these comments that customers are leaving.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's not just searching Google reviews which everybody has managed, right?
Yeah.
And it's hitting Yelp like it always has, but it's also the heavyweights that have moved up in automotive. Reddit, which wasn't a factor before, which is where most technicians are located. Little hack, and probably won't be after this, but you want to recruit technicians, go to Reddit. That's the best place on earth if you're looking for technicians. That's where they all live. And that's where I would be recruiting them if I was in retail, but I'm not. So Dealer Rater, which is a Cars Commerce entity, is right after Reddit. And Better Business Bureau and all those things that weren't becoming less relevant are now monsters on AI search.
So what happens to paid search? Because in the past, you could buy your way out of some of that.
That's right. And you can't now. So now 50% of everything is SEO now. So it still is applied, but that was down from 70% last year. So it's dropping quick. And now you got this answer engine optimization. Google AI overviews is only one answer. So you can't just buy your way up to the top. So they're still going to buy search, but the search engines, or I should say your cost per lead, is going to vary based on your trust. So you and I could pay different amounts for the same search query based on how much we're trusted as to how frequently you get presented as the answer.
So I'm going to have to earn it in 2026 and beyond, in order to remain relevant in the marketplace.
Yes, and it's never going back.
And it's not going back. That's powerful news. You also mentioned recently to Sarah and I that maybe more than half the searches are being done by bots. I think it was about the statistic you said.
That's it.
I want to share that with us.
Yeah, so the first time in history, there are now more searches by bots and AI agents ever than humans. And so just surpassed that, and that's only going to continue. So you don't just have the consumer that you're dealing with. You need to make sure the website is enticing to them. You have to be appealing to these bots and these agents and structure the data in a way that's appealing to them. So it's almost like you have to have an English, Spanish, and they call it schema or structured data language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And schema's been around for a while.
Long time. Yeah. It's a basic and AI agents don't like complicated. They don't like images and pictures and all those things. It likes basic, going back to the roots.
Well, Brian, it is so fascinating to hear all of these insights. And how is this going to translate? I mean, again, the customer buying journey, we've talked about it so many different times across, variable and fixed operations, but we've kind of had these standards of when a customer is going to your website and when they're going to likely transact and what that threshold is. What does this all mean in that customer buying journey?
And so that's a powerful question, and I'll answer it like this. I would reverse engineer the algorithm because it's what you're describing is obviously the way that most everybody's doing it today, but it's not the way that you're going to be able to manage it in the future. So there's an acronym, it's 4 letters, EEAT. It's Google's algorithm, but it's expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I would look at every single one of your actions on the journey and how does it tie back to that? So when it's breaking down that algorithm on the 2.5 hours versus 60 minutes, your authoritativeness, your trustworthiness is getting lowered, affects the experience. Thus, it deems you're not an expert. If your hours don't match on Facebook versus your website, your operating hours is 1 hour off, or there's something like that, you're not an expert. Your authoritativeness goes down. And then your competitor goes up.
It's incredible stuff, Ted, and this is going to continue to be top of mind in our industry.
I do want to have a follow-up for Brian, if I may, on the topic of service drive acquisition, which I know is near and dear to your hearts. That has really, risen to the top or near the top of relevance for dealers. What do you see happening in 2026 for service drive acquisition?
Another good question. So I think that everybody that's here at NADA is looking for a shiny object, right? And there's a lot to look at.
There's a lot.
And everything's shiny here. But I think that you have to connect the process and the people into it. And you're not going to automate your way out of this. And there's no easy button on service drive acquisition. And as I go all over the country and I see every operation, the best and the best, I know that Brian Benstock's, going to be here shortly, and he's at the top and he's at 5% service drive conversion, but most dealers are less than 0.5%. And the ones that automated, I've never seen one that's higher than 0.5% of cars acquired versus repair orders. I've never seen one. Now I see a lot of them over 3%, but it requires a human being going over and saying hello to a client and asking them if it'd be okay if they appraise their vehicle. If you're not doing that, I wouldn't. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars. It's just like AI search. You can't buy your way out of it.
Excellent.
It's incredible stuff. And Brian, if our dealer audience wants to learn more, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
You can check out our corporate website at carscommerce.inc, or check me out on LinkedIn, Brian Kramer on YouTube. I'm either Brian Kramer or Kramer Brian on every platform.
All right. Brian Kramer, thank you for all you do for the industry.
Thank you guys for having me. Look forward to a great show.
Brian Kramer with Cars Commerce here with Sarah Vantine and I here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.